Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 24th March 2017. The first article, Decoding the Modi Effect. So, in this, we will talk about the center right politics in India, and then what made Modi to climb to the leadership position in BJP, and what made the BJP to win that spectacular victory in UP and also in 2014 general elections. The center right is a reality in India. The three pillars of the center right are majoritarianism, nationalism, and third thing is neoliberal economics, or we can call it as the developmental economics. So the language of the politics has changed. It has shifted away from populism to development. And the growth of many middle class and aspirational middle class young population has provided for a strong vote bank to the center right. So, in this context, the traditional values Indian political system believed in, that is social justice, secularism, they are taken a back seat. So, how it will reflect on the politics in India in the long run is a question. And second is the Modi's politicking or else the leadership style of the Modi, which shows a conviction, let us do attitude. It has mobilized the people surrounding him. But also on the other side, it is making him a towering leader, and there is a growth of centralization of authority. Anywhere in democracy, centralization of authority did not yield good results. Either you talk about Indira Gandhi or President Modi era, the centralization has led to killing of internal democracy in the politics. So the BJP shall be cautious about this. That's what is the advice given by Mr. Narayanan over here. Compulsive patent holding disorder, the next article. Now you know that patents, they provide for the exclusive right for the inventor to make a commercial use of the invention. So in this context in India, the CSIR for its inventions has taken a slew of patents at a cost of 50 crore rupees of public money, but it failed to commercialize the same. The reasons are most of the patents which are filed, these are to boost the biodata of the inventors rather than to provide for a technological edge to the country. And second thing is, there is also revenue sharing out of commercialization of patents. 30-70 revenue sharing between the lab and the inventor. So in this context, the researchers in the laboratories, these are being funded by the government. Why the government has to share the revenue? So in this case, incentivization of the researchers through monetary measures, if it has been taken forward, then what about their failure is the question over here. Indian patents policy do not differentiate between patents arrived through public research or through private research. So in this context, an accountability system shall be put in place with regard to the filing of the patents, commercializing of the patents, and realization of the public value through these patents. This is what the author recommends for. And the recent closure of the CSIR Tech, a company intended to commercialize the CSIR inventions, clearly shows poor commercial viability of the patents the CSIR holds. That's what is the article talks about. And then arc to West Asia. So in this case, the China's role we have to talk about. The China is trying to balance the three pillars of West Asia. These are Saudi Arabia, Iran, Israel. So Israel is being hated by the entire Arab world. In the Arab world, there is a fight between Shias and Sunnis and the Cold War going on between Saudi and Iran. Now, the China is trying to balance all these three pillars at a single go. Still, now China saw the West Asia from economic development perspective, but now it is seeing it from more from a strategic perspective. As US withdraws or US minimizes its role in Asia, a space will be created and China wants to play a bigger role as an emerging global power in this particular space. So it means that China is gradually evolving onto the global scene now. And also there is a self-interest for the China, because the West Asia is critical for its success of One Belt, One Road initiative. And second is, the Israel needs to give technology to China to transform industry. China is planning to transform itself from low technology manufacturing industry base to high technology manufacturing base. It means it's going to spend on robotic arms, artificial intelligence in the future. So for that, the necessary technology has to come from Israel. As you know, The Saudi Arabia is the arm for the energy security of China. And Iran, already this dimension has took a strategic perspective. And if you take in Syria, Russia and China are working close to veto the US proposals on Syrian talks. So in this case, the Syrian regime is supported by the Russia and China, which also been supported by the Iran. And with regard to Saudi Arabia, China already has made a $65 billion developmental plan as Saudi Arabia is not on its path towards a less oil dependent economy. And then power of a symbol. So this is about the politics in Tamil Nadu. So here we have to study this from the election commission's perspective. One of the powers of the election commission is to allocate the symbols to the political parties. So from this perspective, we need to understand this. Now, the Friday debate, do we need a presidential system? So, we need to divide this discussion into feasibility and desirability. So, with regard to the feasibility, the parliamentary system is already declared as a part of the basic structure of the constitution by the Supreme Court. So, unless the Supreme Court stands changes, that cannot be changed. Coming to the desirability, let us talk about the arguments against. So India has a huge cultural diversity and a presidential system cannot distribute the power or disseminate the power across regions, cultures in the country. And second is, a presidential system may turn into autocratic system. There are good chances for the same. The checks and balances, that's what is the people argue in presidential system, but the checks and balances can fail. Now, if executive and the legislature, both of them are from the same party, then the checks and balances are compromised. And if they are from a different party, obviously it leads to a stalemate. If you observe the United States legislature functioning, US many a times failed to pass its budget because the legislature was not willing to do so. And even many of the reforms initiated by Obama healthcare, etc., they did not get the support from the legislature, and obviously the Obama has to give his executive push for the same. So, on the other hand, what are the protagonists argue? So, stability and decisiveness and merit, these are the three things they have been arguing in favor of it. So, as president is elected for a fixed tenure, so the stability exists in the political system. He can focus on governance rather than politicking. And then we have the merit system. So let's take president can take anyone into his cabinet. So that's why outside experts can assess the government of the day. And finally, decision making, as one single is at the helm of the affairs, unity of command can be maintained. The unity of command in the structure of decision making can be made. And another thing is the present day, the voting preferences of the individuals are getting misguided. It means someone wants to vote for Modi, probably he has to vote for a BJP MP, either he likes him or not. So that's why voting preferences are getting distorted. That's what is being argued for. And again, the presidential system has better checks and balances because the executive is not sure of what the legislature is going to give, and every executive appointment need to be approved by the Senate. So in this context in India, executive holds the majority in the lower house, which has got upper hand in money bills. So in this context, the budget and other important bills are issued to be passed by the legislature. So that's why checks and balances are better in the presidential system. That's how the argument goes on. So what is the way out? So we have tested and tried the parliamentary system for the past 70 years, and it has worked fine for us. And we have small irritants, especially the stability of the tenure. So why can't we bring in the changes where we can bring in constructive motion of no confidence? And the second is, we wanted to have some general elections to be simultaneously held, and we can fight the electoral corruption, and we can bring in better checks and balances with regard to the budget and other financial instruments. These are the things. Now, there is another argument of Francis Fukuyama in the case of United States. So, United States presidential system, a small percentage of the minority argument is going to hold the majority to check. So that's why the decisions are getting delayed. That's what is the Francis Fukuyama's argument. Though it has not been reflected in this article, you can remember that. So Francis Fukuyama talks about presidential system shifting towards a partial parliamentary system in the case of United States of America, so that the accountability can be improved in the system. And here, domino effect. So this has come up in the case of communism. So where a country transforms into a communism, a domino effect can come up in the other neighboring countries where they also try to change. So during the Cold War era, this word domino effect as part of the diplomacy has come into existence. And then let's come to the news page. So the most important thing in the news page is the Nagas issue. So you know that Union government and the Naga NSC and IM faction, they made an agreement. So this agreement, this framework agreement is going to guide the negotiations between the center and the Nagas in the future. So the details of that are not divulged by either of the party till now. So the Nagas' major demands are: one is sovereignty, the second is Greater Nagaland. So the Manipuris, they are opposed to the Greater Nagaland. So sovereignty, the central government itself is opposed, and government of India wants to have the solution to the Naga problem within the constitutional framework. So in this case, Mr. Muvaya says that the shared sovereignty between the two entities, but what this shared sovereignty is not been clear. So he also says that center recognizes the distinct culture identity of the Nagas and also wants to bring in all the Naga inhabited regions. Is he hinting towards the Greater Nagaland? We are not clear, but there are definitely the hints are here towards it. But Prime Minister Modi during electioneering in Manipur clearly stated that the integrity of Manipur will not be compromised. And then coming to high speed, help speed up the resolution of commercial disputes. Enforcement of contracts is one important aspect of ease of doing business. So if the contracts are being speedily enforced, that provides for an opportunity for us to deal with the existing scenario. So ease of doing business index, India is ranked around 130 because of the poor disposal of the cases by the courts. So that's why Mr. Ravi Shankar asked for the Supreme Court to help to dispose of the commercial cases quickly in the lower judiciary. He asked Supreme Court to take a leadership in this issue. And coming to US lawmakers urge India to lift curbs on NGO. It is about FCR, a Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. India has kept Compassion International, an NGO, which helps 1,45,000 of students under prior watch list category. So the US lawmakers criticizes India's action as non-transparent, arbitrary, and lacks consistency. So that's why. So they recommend for, a temporary removal of the restrictions till the final solution is been found. So this is what has been recommended to the Home Ministry. Coming to the business page, GST will make exports competitive because India is going to become one single market. There will be free movement of the goods and the taxes to be imposed will become less. That way, the cost of the goods comes down and it will improve the competitiveness of Indian goods in the world market. And then coming to the trade facilitation in services. As of now, WTO has mediated the trade facilitation agreement in goods. India is talking about trade facilitation agreement in services. What are the major objectives of this? It is the free movement of the skilled workforce, and second is India wants to have a common insurance mechanisms. It means if Indian goes to United States of America, he has to pay to their social security mechanism over there. And if an American wants to get treated in India, the insurance which he takes in US will not apply in India. So that's why the shift of the or free exchange of the social security put in place between the citizens and also insurance being applied across the borders. That's what the government is recommending for under the trade facilitation in services. So the next page, jobs impact of Make in India is under review. So here Make in India action plan has come up immediately after the Prime Minister has come to power. So he has set the short-term and medium-term targets. So it states that the 25 sectors has to raise the contribution of the manufacturing sector in GDP to 25% by 2020. 25 sectors are the major focus area. The GDP percentage of the manufacturing sector shall rise to 25% by 2020. The Prime Minister is taking a review of the same. Let's come to the world. In this, UNHRC gives Colombo 2 more years. You know that there is a rights violation in the UNHRC, UN Human Rights Commission. In Sri Lanka, the UNHRC is looking in the issue of rights violation in Sri Lanka, and it has given a fresh extension of 2 years to provide for the transitory justice for the war crimes committed in Sri Lanka. Now, I have given you the notes over here. So, decoding the Modi effect is the article, context in the UP elections, questions to ask. So, the center right's growth, is it, what is the impact of it in India? From that perspective, you have to think. Understand, you have to ask this question for yourself. Before you read the notes, you think for a minute. So, on what the center right is based on. So, then, how is it different from the earlier politics? And how it will impact the Indian political system? So, you just think before you read the notes. And watch the video, think, and then read the notes so that you get an idea of your own. And while thinking, make your own sentences. Because of that, you can frame the sentences in the exam hall too. So the linguistic skills will be improved through this exercise. Thank you very much. And the notes will be available to you at laex.in/civilsprep. laex.in/civilsprep. This is where the notes will be available to you. So, the magazine is made available. The third edition of the magazine is being released tomorrow. Just take a look, and Sandeep sir, I think already has made a video on that. Thank you very much and all the best.